If you're curious who's visiting your website or your web apps, in Cleavr, if you go to the server and then click on logs, and then under log type, click on NGINX logs, and then load, you'll be able to see the NGINX Access Logs. And this is cool. Basically what this is anytime a request hits your server and it goes through NGINX, NGINX is logging that access request in this log report. And if I scroll down to the bottom, I'll see the latest requests. However, if you notice, there's a lot of donio.io entries. And this is expected because on donio.io, I have one of the websites on the servers hooked up to an uptime monitor. So if I show you Donio real quick, I have this test site here. Is what this is going to do is every 5 minutes or so, it's going to send requests from servers across the world. And when those various servers make a request from across the world, well, in our access logs, we're going to see that entry. So that's why we see multiple donio.io entries here. And to be honest, I don't care so much that donio.io is making a bunch of requests to my website on my server because, well, that's the purpose of it. So I want to know that it's doing its job, which I know from donio.io itself, but I don't want to see it necessarily on my access logs because what that's going to do is clutter up my access logs. And I want my access logs to be concise, easy to read. That way, if there is some kind of threat or vulnerability or some actor that has malice towards my servers, I want to be able to know right away. And this is kind of just cluttering things up. So let's clean this up a bit. And this is pretty easy to do. And we could do it within our NGINX config settings for our site. So I'm going to head back to the site section and then click into my site and then go to the site NGINX config. And we're just going to add a couple directives here and to not log donio.io requests. The first thing I'm going to do is above server, I'm going to map requests from the HTTP user agent and ignore anything that comes in for Donio. And here we're going to make use of NGINX variables. So I can name this really whatever I want. Let's make it an easy to understand one and then just call it loggable. And then we'll close that out. And here I'm going to put the user that's making the request, which was donio.io. And I'm going to set that to 0 because we do not want to log it. So loggable 0 is false. And then for everything else, we're going to set the default to 1 is true. So we want to log everything else. All right, now that I have mapped my user agent to what I do not want to be logged, which is donio.io, let's go down and scroll a bit to the access log lines. We have a couple here. So we have one that is a site-specific location just for the site, and then we also have another one that is more aggregate for all sites on a server. So we'll modify these two because I want to keep them off of both of them. And to do that, I'm simply going to go to the very end there, add a space, and then type in combined. And then do an if statement, if equals, and then the name of our variable, loggable. All right, and I'm just going to copy this and then go down a line and then paste it again there and then click on update. And that's really it. So I would expect that the next time that donio.io makes a request to the site, it's not logged. But let's spend a minute just to verify that it is indeed not logged. So we're going to go back to the logging section. So back to the server, and then click on logs, and then click on NGINX Access, and then load. And it looks like since the last time we've looked at the logs that Donio made some more requests, so I shouldn't expect any more requests. But how do we verify that? Well, let's create some kind of starting point to base that off of. So I'm going to go back to the sites real quick, and then open it up. And so right here, we should see a new request for opening a site. Let's verify that again, go into the log section, and then we'll check out the NGINX Access and load that. And here we go. We could see that request right here. And that was me looking at the site. Okay, cool. And now let's go back to Donio. And I'm going to click on check site. And that's going to create a ad hoc check of the site. So if we go back here and then go back to the top and click on load, we don't see anything there. But just to verify it again, let's go back to the site here. And then let's go and find some gibberish type domain. It's a 404. Okay, cool. So the latest thing I would expect now in the logs is a 404 error. All right, so let's just reload that and then go down here. And is this our 404? Yep, it is. And so we could see that donio.io is not being logged in our access logs anymore, just the way I want it. but all the other requests are.